Although Israel is a small country, its army has repeatedly defeated enemy forces with a large number of advantages. This is not only because of its military officers and soldiers are brave and good at fighting, but also because it has a batch of main battle weapons that meet the national conditions and advanced performance. Among them, the Mekawa series of tanks has a unique design and design concept. Not only has it been in the top of the world tank rankings for many years, but it has also experienced many real-life tests. In today's video, let's talk about the past and present of this unique tank. In 1948, when Israel was founded, it was constantly at war with neighboring Arab countries. Although the Mekawa army has created miracles on the battlefield many times, heavy equipment depended on imports and inevitably got stuck at critical moments. In 1970, the Israeli government decided to independently develop unique armor and weapons suitable for the Mekawa army. At that time, the Israeli army had completed the restoration of the armored war in the Middle East in 1967. The Israeli government thought that the Mekawa army did not need tanks with outstanding mobility. However, due to the small size of Israel's territory and the precious back of the army, the survival ability of the tank must be put first. Even if the tank was destroyed by the enemy, it must ensure that the members of the Israeli army can evacuate safely. The Israeli Industry Department finally released the prototype of the Mekawa 1 tank in 1974. Although it was equipped with a high-quality L7 anti-tank gun and the AVDS 1790 diesel engine distributed by the American Mainland Car Company, the Israeli public at that time was suspicious of the actual performance of this 63-ton turret-mounted domestic tank. However, the Israeli military fully supported the project. The Mekawa 1 tank was finally mass-produced in 1979 and was fortunate to participate in the Middle East War in 1982. When the U.S. M60 tank, which the Israeli military offered, rushed into the Bekaa Valley, the Syrian army, which was suddenly appeared, suppressed the Mekawa 1 tank. The two sides shot at each other until dark, and not a single Mekawa was destroyed. The next day, the U.S. military cleaned up the battlefield and found 19 remaining Mekawa 1 tanks. The Mekawa 1 tank became famous in a single battle and completely eliminated all doubts about it. In the second year, the improved Mekawa 2-1, the Israeli armored unit, was fully domesticated. In 1987, the revolutionary Mekawa 3 was born. The Mekawa 3 tank was upgraded to the 120mm 44 caliber cannon, which was produced by the German company Rheinmetall. The Israeli army now had an advantage in armor quality over neighboring countries. In 2004, the improved Mekawa 4, which was based on the Mekawa 3, was commissioned and became the main battle weapon of today's army. Although the Mekawa 3 and Mekawa 4 have been completely eliminated, the Mekawa 1 tank is still very similar in appearance. Anyone who has personally touched a Mekawa tank will have the first impression that it is a huge thing. Take the Mekawa 4 as an example. The length of the tank is 9.04 meters, and the width is 3.72 meters. In the absence of additional armor, the top of the turret is 2.66 meters away from the ground. If you put it together with the world's leading tanks, you will find that the Mekawa 4 is only slightly smaller than the American M1A2 tank. The height of the vehicle is more than the height of an adult. This is because the front of the engine cannot be controlled by a ladder vehicle. Another intuitive feeling is the weight of the armor and the exquisite design for anti-bombing. The weight of the Mekawa 4 is more than 65 tons. The front tilt of the vehicle reaches 70 degrees. The turret also has an amazing butterfly shape. When the enemy's armor hits its front, it will not only pass through a longer armor path, but it may also turn to jump. The third characteristic of the Mekawa 4 is that it does not use the mainstream cowhide suspension. Instead, it uses the popular copper-plated spiral spring suspension in World War II. This fully reflects the hard work of Israeli designers. In order to drive the Mekawa 4, a German MTO company installed it. However, it is a GD883 type diesel engine produced by a separate company of the American General Electric Power Company. The output power is up to 1,500 horsepower. This iron beast can reach a maximum speed of 60,000 meters. The main gun of the Mekawa 3 has been able to destroy the main battle tank of the enemy around Israel. In addition, after 1991, the surrounding environment around Israel changed dramatically. There is no longer a country's regular army that will engage in large-scale tank battles with its army. Therefore, the Mekawa 4 uses the MG-253 Type 1 20mm tank gun introduced by the Israeli military-industrial company to German technology. The gun has improved the rate of fire of the gun and installed two 5-shot shells at the end of the gun. The weight of the 120-millimeter tank gun has reached the physical limit of the loader. However, in order not to affect the length of the magazine of the European and American tank designers, in addition to France, they all insist on using man-made ammunition. However, the designers of the Mekawa 4 believe that it is only necessary to fire a few shots quickly in the actual battle. Therefore, in its turret, it uses two rotating magazines to carry 10 load-bearing shells. Considering the main battle with the enemy infantry, in addition to the combined machine gun, the Mekawa 4 also equips a 60-millimeter anti-aircraft gun, usually used by infantry on the left side of the turret. However, its loading method is the same as that of the tank gun. In order to maximize the power of the main gun, the Mekawa 4 is equipped with a newly developed air defense system developed by Elbit. The advanced infrared and TV monitors allow the members to see the surrounding environment clearly in any weather environment. The improved target automation system can automatically lock enemy tanks and vehicles, even the low-altitude helicopter. The gunner can kill it at the right time. Another advantage of the huge vehicle body is that the tank driver of the Mekawa 4 can completely sit down to drive the tank. The tank driver does not use the voice command, but sends a message to the driver through a handle in front of the driver. This can reduce the driver's misjudgment on a very complicated battlefield. The Army often puts the tank into the front line. In order to improve the coordination with the infantry, the Mekawa 4 has set up a radio at the rear of the vehicle so that it can communicate with the vehicle at any time. The fourth special feature of the Mekawa tank is the prearrangement of the engine. It is almost face-to-face protection for the members. 70% of the vehicle weight is used on the armor. The Mekawa 4's front armor is equivalent to a 1,000-millimeter steel armor. The turret front uses a separate armor. At the same time, it also has a full set of additional armor components that can strengthen the protection of the key parts as required. The Mekawa 4 also installed the active interceptor system for the first time. The turret is equipped with 4 light-emitting projectile launchers. Once it detects the incoming projectile, the computer will quickly order the 3 launchers to turn and launch small interceptor missiles. The interceptor rate of anti-tank missiles is close to 90%. Because the turret is rear-mounted, the Mekawa 4 has a door at the center of the vehicle in addition to the conventional tank warehouse door. In this way, the tank members can rush in and out, and it is easy to replenish ammunition and supplies. Once the tank is paralyzed, it can be quickly evacuated. There is no need to climb the narrow escape door at the bottom of the vehicle, but any tank that is hit by armor can cause a bomb explosion. For this purpose, the Mekawa 4 is equipped with a fire-extinguishing device developed by the Israeli Pekshonokov company. When the sensor detects that there is fire in the vehicle, it will launch the fire extinguisher within 30 milliseconds. Although this series of tanks also suffered more than 30 casualties in previous wars, none of them appeared in the case of non-cannon turrets. In addition to the 3 defense system that can prevent nuclear weapons and attacks, the Mekawa 4 also has a protective detail design that other tanks do not have. The 2 front lights of the vehicle will shrink to the rear of the armor plate when not in use. The fuel tank at the rear of the vehicle has a special door. Once hit, the fuel will be released quickly. The turret is completely driven by an electric motor to avoid the possibility of a night oil fire. It can be said that the Israeli designers have done their utmost to protect the safety of the members. Israelis generally believe that the front layout of the engine makes the Mekawa series of tanks super protective, but other tank experts do not agree. They believe that in 1970, when Israel developed the Mekawa 1, the designers did not have the concept of composite armor at all. In the case that the weight cannot be increased indefinitely, the engine can only be placed between the front armor and the combat room to provide another layer of protection for the members. Unfortunately, after decades of development, Israel still does not have advanced composite armor technology. Therefore, the design of the Mekawa 4 with a power front is completely helpless. It also proves that the front of the engine also has a series of negative effects. In order to reduce the frontal ammunition area, the designers tried their best to reduce the height of the turret of the Mekawa, but the high-car body offset all efforts. This not only makes it easier to be hit, but also causes a higher center of gravity. When driving on a complex terrain, the probability of overturning the car increases. In addition, in order to maintain the engine, The Mekawa tank must open the lid on its front armor, which inevitably reduces the strength of the armor. At the same time, the exhaust port of the engine is located in front of the turret. The exhaust gas and heat generated when the engine is running will interfere with the turret sighting equipment and affect the normal operation of the tank crew. At the same time, the position of the turret of the Mekawa is backward, which leads to a higher fire line, and at the same time, there is the same angle of inclination of the Su-type tank. When it opens fire at a height below the mountaintop, it is not easy to hit the target at the foot of the mountain. At the same time, in order to protect the turret and its front car body, the Mekawa 4 has the largest area of coverage in the current main battle tanks of each country, but it is also the heaviest side skirt version. From this perspective, it is necessary to increase the number of tons of armor to improve the protection performance of the series of tanks, and the anti-tank weapons equipped with its potential opponents are getting more and more advanced, and the way of attack is varied. Can the engine be used as a hidden armor and ensure that the car will not be destroyed and the people will not die? Now it's time to make a question mark. Many military fans are passionate about the front design of the Mekawa engine, which makes it a heavy infantry tank. But in fact, although the Army has used the Mekawa 4 to transform a heavy infantry tank and specifically modified a batch of heavy armor infantry tanks, but the Mekawa 4 is used as a tank after all. It is obvious that only when the combat mission almost does not require the use of tank guns will the tank be used to transport reinforcements to the front line. Or if there are too many casualties on the front line, the ambulance will face huge risks. This can make the Mekawa 4 abandon the ammunition rack and temporarily kick the armored ambulance. To some extent, the confidence of the Israeli armored troops in the Mekawa engine potential and strong defense capabilities is probably mainly due to the fact that the Army can always take absolute advantage in the predetermined battlefield environment. In this way, even if the Mekawa 4 is destroyed by the engine, the members can also evacuate the vehicle decisively without worrying that the vulnerable opponents will mislead or even take advantage of these tanks. But in the eyes of European and American tank designers, once the engine is destroyed, it means a permanent loss of the tank. And without the protection of the tank armor, the members who run back and forth are afraid to become the target of enemy fire. So they don't like the Mekawa series, and there is no country to buy this tank. Although the Mekawa 4 can already complete the main combat mission of the Israeli Army, last year, the Israeli Ministry of Defense still announced in a high-profile manner that it had built the latest Mekawa 5 tank. It's just that when the tank was unveiled, military observers from all countries were confused because its appearance is no different from the Mekawa 4. But according to the Israelis, the Mekawa 5 is a more advanced generation and has a more powerful digital future tank. After entering the turret, the tank members will wear special 360-degree visual enhancement helmets. In this way, the video taken by multiple cameras on the tank will be displayed on the helmet display screen. In this way, they can hide behind the armor and walk on the street with their eyes and ears open. In addition, the tank has a screen display that is comparable to that of a fighter pilot. You can see the outside view of the vehicle and the tactical information of the tank itself. But in terms of hardware, in addition to installing a new generation of active defense systems, the Mekawa 5 is relatively stable compared to the original Mekawa 4. Whether its combat effectiveness has been greatly improved remains to be seen. Moreover, in recent battles, it has also been found that the Mekawa 4 relies too much on the armament system. When its interceptor is in action, it is also easy to accidentally injure nearby infantry. But if the infantry is left in the armored vehicle or far away from the Mekawa 4, the Mekawa 5's non-tank coordination will be left to the form. It can be seen that although the Mekawa 5 is the most powerful tank built by Israel based on its domestic technical level, it is questionable whether it has been sufficiently optimized for a specific battlefield environment. According to some recent photos, the Israeli army has set up a shelter for its own tank in imitation of the battlefields of Ukraine. However, at present, its opponents are not good at using drones. It seems that the Israeli army should also imitate the American army, which is more suitable to install a bomb shelter on the side of the Mekawa. So, dear viewers, do you think that the Mekawa tank will be invincible in the Middle East in the future? Comment below and like. Subscribe my channel. See you late time.